Welcome to your patch notes for the month of June. I'm your host Paul James, and you've got a special edition this month. You've got a week full of patch notes. Why? Because it's the biggest event in video games this week, E3. We've sat through each and every one of the video game press conferences from all the big publishers that are presenting, bar Nintendo. That's a whole other thing. Let's not talk about it. And basically, I'm talking to you right now because what you're going to see in the videos coming up is a full screen version of all the trailers that appeared with us talking over the top of them. That is because we've sat through numerous hours of game trailers, conferences. We've been up for 36 to 40 odd hours without having slept, and we're looking slightly disheveled. We might pop in here or there, but for the most part you will not see us. So to highlight what you're going to be seeing this week, Monday you're going to get EA, Tuesday Bethesda, Wednesday you'll get Microsoft, Thursday for Ubisoft, and Friday you'll get a chance to watch and see what went on with Sony and PlayStation. Each of those videos will last about 15-20 minutes where we discuss what we saw, what we thought, and what it means for the future. So without further ado, let's flick to the next podcast. Welcome back to another E3 recap. We're talking about Microsoft today. Damo is dead, and I'm joined by Jay Parnas. What an intro, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Microsoft had their conference this morning. We're talking about what we saw, what we thought, and
what we didn't think, I suppose, would be one way to put it.
So the first thing that we saw was the announcement of a slim Xbox One.
Yes, the Xbox One S.
Price, they're calling it the Xbox One S.
The Xbones, I think.
Which it'll kick off. We'll start the hashtag.
I mean, at the end of the day, you've got crossbones now, so that's fine. Yeah. It's cool. It's come full circle with Pirates, so there you go. So
yeah, we've got a slimmer version console. It looks quite sleek. It looks like it's only in white. I'm not 100% sure though.
Yeah. I think that might. Well, yeah, I don't know. They didn't really show too much about that, but
they didn't speak too much about the actual form factor and like what it's kind of got. I mean, we know it's smaller and
about 40% smaller
and all that sort of stuff. But for the most part, and obviously there's a big hard drive increase, which will be real handy. Like I'm struggling on my PS4 and my Xbox One. I'm really struggling with my Xbox One in terms of space. I'm in a constant state of deleting stuff, and it makes me sad because with my 360 I can just throw in anything and go. Yeah. But we also, and the big one now, I'm going to skip right to the very end because this is probably the biggest topic of the whole thing, is the Project Scorpio, which is the seriously
high-powered,
this is what's
the one for VR, basically.
Yeah. And presumably VR being Oculus, but I still don't think that's 100% confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the potential that could be for the use of HoloLens. We don't really know.
Yeah.
Talked about a lot of flops, and that's all I know.
Since day dot that the PS4 was the stronger of the two consoles.
Yeah.
Xbox was lagging behind a little bit, and this does a fair bit to bridge that gap.
And for all we know, exceed that gap.
Yeah.
Because I don't know specs.
Oh, well, yeah, from the set, without going into too many details, we knew going into the Xbox conference that the PlayStation had decided not to bring the Neo along, and maybe they got a hint that their console, their upgraded one, was significantly poorer in comparison to this Scorpio. But we'll learn more about that in the future. One of the big things for both of us that we were both looking forward to was Recore.
Yeah, and I'm just going to take a moment.
Enough of it.
I'm just going to take a moment because the camera work at the live event was absolutely fucking aberrant. It was the worst. It was like
this should be a thing that was resolved years ago.
I mean,
there was a time where we had cameras floating around the background.
This used to be a Sony thing.
It's not happening anymore for most.
Yeah,
and then it came back in a really bad way this year.
I totally agree. And like I was saying, it used to be with Sony with the three screens that they had that used to have the really over enthusiastic cameraman. But look, not to get away from the game we want to talk about, it looks great.
Yeah, it's got a mid-September release date. I don't know what the equivalent was for Australia, but you'll be seeing the American date.
I think it'd probably be very similar. If they're not going for an all-around same-time release, it'll be pretty soon.
It'll be within that same week.
And they did show what it's actually going to be looking like in actual gameplay. So that looks really cool. It looks like you've probably got a modular companion.
Yep.
From what I can see. I don't know if you need to like find the bodies or whatever, whether it's going to be puzzle specific or whether you're going to be able to swap on the fly. Again, they haven't really gone into too much detail, and watching it live was definitely not indicative of what we actually wanted to be seeing.
It doesn't necessarily look like it's the most gorgeous game in the world.
I think it's got a bit of its style,
really
though.
Cool, it's got a really cool style, and I think that's more than capable of compensating for that.
For sure.
It does still look really, really nice.
Some of the
art style it's
some of the early art style of it looked very like comic booky, black and white, which was that looked fantastic. And again, if we could have seen more of it at the conference, that would have been great. Watching it back now as we talk over it,
a theme that will get come back to a few times through this.
There
was a number of games that really should have gotten more airtime.
Didn't. All the good stuff,
vice versa, so.
all the stuff we were at least looking forward to got very little time, and a lot of the stuff that not many people would care as much about, because at the end of the day, we're there for games. Just the other stuff got more time. So they spoke about the Scorpio, which is, that's not until next year, 2017, I think they said. Was it late 2017, I think they said?
It'll be the end of the year. One can assume.
That got more time than Recore.
Yeah.
Moving on now.
There's a lot of games that just didn't get much time, including this one that we're seeing right now, which is State of Decay 2.
State of Decay 2.
It's a game that's been rumoured for quite some time. The original State of Decay was an Xbox 360 like an arcade game. They re-released it. I can't remember what the name of the edition was, but they re-released it on the Xbox One last year.
Yeah.
The pickup was really, really good there. They got lots of new sales, apparently.
So is it they're going for an MMO style with this one, is it?
Well, I'm not too sure. The trailer doesn't give too much away on that front.
But they do.
There was a lot of talk. The studio had been quite clear. I think what's the name, Undead Labs or something like that. They've been quite clear that they were looking at doing an MMO with their next game, but maybe that's one more away. Perhaps?
It was the part where they show that nobody survives alone, and then you've got your flare, and then the group of people jumping into the car to motor on over. So for all I know, that seems like at least an online
maybe it's
component.
More like a Destiny style thing where it's a bit more, people drop in and out rather than
perhaps
servers full of people.
Though with Destiny, it's usually like 3 people at a time, so it might just be.
You can still see people drifting in and out, and that's one of the things.
Sure,
about that. So,
it might be more of like a Dark Souls thing where you can see people and you can.
And that'd be pretty cool. That'd be an interesting dynamic. So,
for sure.
We'll see how that turns out. It's looking right. Another game, a franchise that's actually meant to be to you in the past is Dead Rising.
Yeah, staying with the old zombies. I love Dead Rising 1 and 2. Dead Rising 1 and 2 is fantastic. Just the cross between the very serious story and the very silly things that you can be doing in those games. Dead Rising 3 took itself way too seriously. You didn't have the fun of, hey, look, I'm running around killing zombies with a vacuum cleaner and a sundress. For me, that's always been the spastic level of fun that you get to have in those games. And what was
the name of the character? Because they give the Frank his back. What was his surname?
Frank West. So Frank West was the protagonist of the first game. There's sort of been some level of story elements to it, where he's either alive or dead or who knows. But it definitely does. Well, yeah. I mean, you don't really know when this is set, though. They sort of like to play a little cavalier with their timelines, but. The dumb weapons look like they're there. Whether it's still got the combination stuff like before, I don't know. But it definitely does look like it has. Yeah, look, it definitely does. Look, who knows? That might be their way of bringing back the photography of the first game, but it doesn't show whether there's going to be any combination weapons or any of the other stuff that they've brought in. It looks like it's going to be set at Christmas, though.
And it's going to be out this year.
Yeah, holiday 2016. Holiday. So whether
Christmas
that was
Day release,
whether that was a trailer purely because it's coming out at Christmas or that it's going to have a Christmas setting, who knows? I mean, this is the first I've seen of it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. This next game is one that's probably most relevant, more than any other, Forza game in the past. This one's relevant to us because Forza Horizon 3 is set in Australia.
And on stage.
There was a bunch. I mean, we're looking at kangaroos bouncing across the tracks here.
But when they were talking about it on stage, there was a lot of
they
like
rattled off
Victorian,
names, yeah,
which is where we are.
yeah,
So, Great Ocean Road.
There was a few others that presumably other states that we've got no idea about because we're ignorant Victorians.
For sure. Yep.
But yeah,
there's your luscious skyline.
A lot of familiar locations there, and it looks. I mean, the Forza games, we know they look fantastic. They put a lot of time and effort into making those cars and the environments that they're moving through look gorgeous. And the Australian terrain lends itself well to a game like this. A game like Horizon.
Yeah, because I mean, you got your large jumps and your silly, twists and turns, and your downhill drifts and stuff like that. I do think there's definitely a lot to be offered there. They did also talk a lot about the co-op experience that you can have, where it's you can sort of send invites and then you'll just sort of be able to rock up to someone else in the world and start events and stuff like that, which looked pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And this sort of lends into something that Microsoft was pushing a lot during the conference, which was you could play it on your PC, Windows 10, and
everything now is PC
and Xbox One, and there was also elements of Android and all that sort of stuff for some of the games.
Yeah.
Like Minecraft that they spent 10 hours on, way too long, but very very soon.
Bane of my existence, Minecraft. Don't hate me.
No, look, it's a large portion of the. I don't even know if we got any video footage for that, but weird.
I wouldn't allow it. So one that surprised me, because I clearly mistakenly had this impression that Tekken 7 was exclusive to PlayStation. Clearly I was wrong. It's multi-platform.
So
but we saw some new stuff from Tekken 7, which is coming.
So from what I saw, this is actually similar stuff to, because I'm pretty sure Tekken 7's already out in arcades. Because I already was aware that Akuma, who's basically like the evil character from Street Fighter, was going to be in Tekken 7, and I'm pretty sure already has been in Tekken 7, which is why during the conference you're like, but it's exclusive, and I was adamant that no, you were completely wrong. And yeah, this was, I mean, for a lot of it, they were sort of showing just a cinematic and how that cinematic can seamlessly move into a fight, very much like, I guess one of the games that sticks out for me is like Max Payne 3, where they had the cutscenes seamlessly transition into your straight-up combat, which they're going to be doing for the fighting and stuff like that. So I think part of this was to do with the old Tekken X Street Fighter, or Tekken Cross Street Fighter,
so do you think
and
it's
vice versa.
That game's dead, so they've kind of...
I'm pretty sure that's what they've come out and said, that that game is basically finished, and...
So Alpha's now crept into Tekken 7.
Yeah, that's right. And that's to sort of, say, hey, look, we haven't completely forgotten that was a game that we made and that we promised that there would be two of them. So...
here it is.
But basically, and it might have been, look, here's some of the assets that we had, and here's how we wanted it to play. We couldn't make it work for whatever reason. And basically, that was it. It was very, very short showing.
Do you see yourself picking the game up?
Probably not. I'm more of a quarter circle forward than a million button remembering string. I could never really play Tekken very well because my memory, and also trying to like knock that shit out all in a row, I could never really get a handle on.
Well, before we move to the next game, while we're still on the topic of fighting games, we don't have any video footage for it here, but
Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct. So General Ram from the original.
I don't know.
From the original Gears game. He's going to be there, and it was effective this week or something. To that
I think he's free to play as this week at right now.
So afterwards, you've got to then pay for him after.
Yeah, so he'll be piecemeal, just like the rest of the characters from Killer Instinct. Or if you buy the season pass, you get him as well. But if you want to,
7 million,
something like that. But let's get to the real business.
This is one of the games we come for. Recore was one of them. We were a little bit let down by the amount they showed there. Not let down by Sea of
Thieves.
Except for the stupid gamers, they had kind of...
No, look,
You'll start seeing it.
I did not think it was ridiculous commentary, to be honest with you. Basically, what they'd done is they got a bunch of gamers who had never played it before, and they said...
really into it. They were big kind of rare... They said something to the effect of they were big rare fans.
Probably something like that. But basically, they just chucked them all in and said, here, play this game. And so I think... Look, they're very animated, so and you'll see that. But at the end of the day, look, whether they're putting that on or whether that's just the kind of people that they are, whatever. But it does...
enthusiasm around the fact that we're getting to play a good rare game.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention like a bit of enthusiasm about being a drunk pirate. And look, it looks...
want to be a drunk pirate?
I mean, I kind of already am, except without the piracy.
Fair.
But
the game looks great.
It does. The water looks still fantastic. It's got this really nice, like, I don't know, it's kind of cartoony, but it's not, if that makes sense. It's really...
There's just enough realism to it that kind of...
It's kind of got that sort of...
Stuck somewhere between almost a realistic look and a Wind Waker.
I was going to say it's sort of stuck somewhere between a realism and like a Team Fortress.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's cartoony, but not really, like, if that makes sense. But
it's a cool style, though.
Absolutely.
It's the sort of thing that, we know that there's lots of games visually that haven't stood the test of time because their tech has become obsolete.
Yeah, for sure.
This will not be one of those games.
No, I mean,
it's artistic style.
That water will probably stand the test of time even in future console generations.
Yeah,
it looks
easily.
It looks fantastic. But yeah, look, the sea combat also looks pretty good fun.
The boat there, the fact that it's sinking just
capsizing
resembles what was going on during the Xbox conference overall. It was just
not quite. Yeah, no, it wasn't quite that bad, but there was definitely moments where it just did not really hold.
This is the game that I'm building my presumably 2017 around, but they didn't even specify that in their trailer.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Crossing our fingers after the announcement last year to be 2016.
I think they said something about 2016,
but not to be. But they've not even put a date on it at all. They've not even specified a year. Yeah. So we'll see. This is a game that you specifically have been super about too. I'm really, really looking forward to.
I love Platinum Games. I have quite a respect for them, and almost all of the stuff that they've put out. Obviously, not Legend of Korra or that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, but for the most part, your Vanquishes, your Bayonettas, your Mad Worlds.
The game's been a bit of a sore spot for me this year, just because it was 4 or 5 days into the year, and they announced that it wasn't going to come until 2017. I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, it is a bit sad but I mean, based off of
this is what they're doing. Like, if this is what
it's pretty
the reason
sizable
for why the game has taken as long as it has, I can deal with it because the game looks fantastic.
It does. The size and scale,
of it, for want of a better word.
I didn't even. Cool.
The scale of it is unbelievable. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it looks like it plays
more of it.
Look, I actually want to know more about how it plays, because the way this style of playing doesn't really match up with what we've seen in terms of the gameplay before, because the gameplay that we've seen in the past was killing mobs of enemies and getting some golden experience and treasure chests.
It just means we've got a nice, diverse experience.
No, for sure. I want to know. I want to know what the rest of this game contains, because if this is a boss fight, well. Because this is them showing off their co-op play,
and then mounted, flying combat, and how one links into the other as well. Like, you see him kind of on foot as he is right now.
There's definitely sort of a mix
and melee weapons, and then you can jump on your dragon, and you can.
I actually just hope these giant monsters are not locked to the combo, the co-op setting. Hopefully,
mate, who cares? We're going to play lots of co-op.
Well, that's. I care, because I would like to see this in the single player.
I do agree with you.
But look, I'm not going to miss out for sure.
It would be, but we'll find a way to do it regardless.
Yeah, I hope that. I'm actually hoping that there's
one purchase for the both of us.
For sure, I'm actually hoping there's a lot of Monster Hunter to this. I would love to see some tackling of some monsters, and maybe some crafting. Just for a bit of good fun, It is a fairly lengthy demo that they showed.
It was great. There was the gameplay that we're seeing, and then a trailer as well.
And I would say significantly less choppy than the last
Yeah, there were some performance issues when they showed their previous demo, which had just been paused for concern, but then the game got delayed a fair bit, so...
I wouldn't...
Maybe that was part of it. Maybe that was their reason. The game wasn't...
Perhaps, yeah, maybe they were pushing...
Right. Core experience itself was fine, like they knew what it was meant to be, they had their moment-to-moment story and, the sequence of the game all planned out, but they needed to spend some extra time getting the performance of it right.
Yeah,
if that's perhaps the case, so be it.
Yeah, and because it looks like it's good fun. I mean, you could actually hear the character that's being played in this one giving commands to the dragon, and it carrying out those commands while you...
cool little multitasking thing you're doing, and at the same time you're commanding your dragon to hit particular spots with fireballs or whatever.
Yeah, hit for maximum damage, of course.
I still can't. I can't get over the scale of this. This is fantastic.
There's that pun again.
But it immediately smacks of God of War 2 and 3 in particular. It was just in terms of the scale of it, not necessarily the way combat.
Yeah, I was going to say
combat itself was totally different, but the scale of it, the magnitude of the fact that you're looking around and there's just giant legs all over the place. I
would actually argue that it reminds me more of Bayonetta, which is a platinum game. I mean, if you think of the bosses in those,
I can see that as well.
Yeah, but that's...
I think the two probably informed each other for a little while there.
Oh, of course. I mean, those
their grand bosses and that sort of thing.
Yeah, those two are very much of the same game style as well. So it's good to see that aspect of it in a game that plays differently. This does not play like a brawler. It looks like you've got management of your dragon, you've got your management of your abilities, and your battlefield placement and your management of your super abilities, as you can see.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot to juggle at the same time there.
Yeah, and look, I actually think that part of this... I actually think that part of that, there was probably systems that were not being shown.
And it's down.
It looks like the game would not be that simple either. Yeah. So I think there's even more to be shown there. Because, I mean, at the end of the day...
I hope they're not, getting their best out now.
No, they wouldn't be. No.
Can't imagine they are.
But, I'm excited for that one for sure.
Still no date, but we know it'll be 2017.
I think they're looking for probably earlier.
Yeah, probably earlier, which will go alongside this. So we've got Halo Wars 2 that's coming early next year.
A well-directed trailer. The game doesn't really interest either of us, really.
No, I don't mind RTS. The first Halo Wars was quite good. Surprising, actually. Like, it was, we've known for years that RTSs haven't necessarily worked all that well on console. They've just not made that transition particularly well. There's been a few since, like if you look at XCOM, for example.
XCOM's a good example.
They've done a fantastic job of it. Halo did a pretty good job of it. And now...
We are in an era of games that were assumed to be locked to the PC. I mean, you look at Diablo, that's the perfect example of... Before that hit consoles, people were saying not only would that not work, it will never happen. And not only did it, a lot of people have argued that it is
the console version is far superior.
It is superior, yeah. So it's interesting how things like that work. Again, it's a well produced trailer. Looks really nice.
Yeah,
there is a bit of gameplay towards the end.
Yeah,
that shows a bit more.
There's reason to hope that this will be another really good game. Creative Assembly, who are the guys who do Total War, all those games, the PC.
They know what they're doing.
Games, they are excellent in this genre.
They're definitely well versed.
The fact that Microsoft sought their help, poached them from Sega for the time being to help them out with this.
And not to mention that 343 is on board to make sure that if there's any lore or any...
And there'll be plenty of it.
I'm sure there will, and I'm actually curious as to where this will fit in the Halo lexicon.
It'll be good. I mean, it was our only sighting of Halo for the entire conference, which was
a nice change of pace.
Good, actually. They've been pretty keen to load as much Halo onto us as possible in the past, and the fact that they didn't was outside of Halo Wars 2.
Especially considering that...
It wasn't a huge amount that they showed us. It was good.
Especially considering that for the longest time, there were so many issues with the Master Chief Collection that basically any time they mentioned Halo, it was with Grimace. So...
So you can play the beta now, and the game will be out in late February. So next, there was a whole bunch of indies.
And this is probably where I was, I think, most excited
But potentially almost one of the more disappointing sections still, though. Like
because it was so small.
We were adamant that we were going to get Cuphead released for Cuphead, and it was visible. But again, like they haven't shown us anything new. What we're looking at now are things that we've seen / played at PAX. Inside had a horrible little trailer there. Not in this particular bit, you're not going to see it in here, but there was a trailer for Inside.
It did not do it justice.
The guys who developed Limbo. There's a number of people who were tweeting out during the conference that are saying, we've had hands-on with it, and this trailer is not reflective of what that game is. And it's a real shame they couldn't quite deliver like that.
Yeah,
There's lots of cool stuff that we're seeing there.
It was definitely a weird conference. It was contrary to the last few Microsoft conferences where they've gone out of their way to put games first.
Well, I think they still went games, but they just didn't get the balance right. They just stuck things up.
But, I mean, that's the thing. There was still a very large
tech
aspect. Yeah, there was a large tech aspect. And I would have figured they would have learned by now. They should have learned by now, because every time they've gone tech heavy, and it's not interesting tech. It's not tech. So last year they had the HoloLens, which was interesting tech. This year they're showing off their new consoles, and it's nothing new. I mean, we have Xbox Ones already.
The Xbox One S is just a sleeker unit, probably runs a little bit cooler. All those sorts of things are handy. The Scorpio, well, the thing is, we know now that next year we're going to probably get a similar sort of thing where there's going to be a massive chunk of time given to the Scorpio, you can assume. Hopefully they learn from it and do that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Save it to the end, or get it out of the way at the beginning.
Or give all the announcements a week before.
We don't have any issues with how they handle the Xbox One S, because they got it out of the way at the beginning and then it was games from then on. But until the end,
there was a little bit about the controller stuff.
They kept crowbarring that in where they
design your own controller, that sort of stuff. And
who cares?
There was also discussions about Xbox Live and how they're changing that with the groups and communities. And look, that's nice. They said it was 3 of the most requested things. I find that a little hard to believe.
Yeah. Because it's all around groups and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, no one I know wants to join.
You've got people that are demanding for Xbox Originals, for example,
or Xbox Arcade.
Arcade and all those sorts of things.
I mean, they're doing the right thing with the backwards compatibility.
What they had and gone, like all the things that have been requested, like we can't do this. All right, groups.
We don't want to do this.
These are amongst the most demanded things, but they're not necessarily they might be at the bottom of that top 10.
Yeah.
But whatever. And one of the bigger things was Gears of War 4. What did you think of it when you saw it?
Well, look, I couldn't tell if it was our stream or not, but it was a little choppy.
Yeah. We might go back and watch some of the YouTube footage to double check that.
Confirm that. Yeah. It was a lot more fluid than I'm used to with Gears of War games.
Bouncing from cover to cover to cover much quicker than you did in the other.
Yeah. I mean, look, there was always cover to cover, but it wasn't. You weren't pushing. It was like, I am locked in this circular area, and I'll go from cover to the other little bit of cover, back to that first bit of cover.
I take out this wave, then I'll get up and move on.
Yeah, and then it'll be like a slow sort of jog with some dialogue about someone's wife, and then that was the end.
Yeah. And it does seem like they're hitting on similar sort of notes. There was the female character, I've forgotten her name now, that was talking about was it her father or a brother or something?
It was actually her mother. Her mother, yeah.
Mother.
That's right.
Okay, I've lost track. We've seen a lot in the last couple of days.
There's always a family member in Gears of War. It's always someone got taken.
Just a little bit cliche. Could have done something else, but at the same time, I'm super hyped for Gears.
Look, I'm not, because I think I had my fill over the period of the Xbox, but or the 360, I should point out. But look, it did definitely look like it was more of an action-y game than sort of past Gears of Wars. They did mention that there was going to be some stuff with was it cross-play with Horde mode and all that sort of stuff with the PC?
Yeah, PC, lots of.
Which, look, that's neat. I mean, it's about time that Microsoft got into the whole, hey, maybe other people want to play your games.
Yeah.
Where they can purchase them. Maybe you should link that shit up and not be so closed.
Yeah.
So that was nice. One of my highlights was when the Xbox E3 conference turned on your Xbox through your Kinect.
Oh. At which point I walked up, got up, turned off the Xbox, unplugged Kinect, sat down and tried to enjoy what was left. But that was...
It was pretty funny.
Like, why is your Xbox turning on? Oh, shit. But
so...
Yeah, I mean, look, what do we think of the conference overall? I'd say
it was
personally.
It was poorly planned. They had some content, but I mean, I don't know. Look, to be honest with you, it depends on what
it gives Sony an opening.
It depends. It depends on what they wanted to show, or sorry, not what they wanted to show. What the game publishers or developers who were making their games, because a lot of them were, they were exclusives, but they were third-party games.
Yeah.
So it depends on what those developers wanted to show, because for all we know, that was all the developer of Recore wanted to show. That was all that was allowed to be shown.
Yeah, all that Armature let them.
Yeah. So look, who knows? But they spent a lot of time on stuff that was not very engaging. A lot of time on
because they've got some really good games there. That's the thing.
They do. I mean, Crackdown went unsighted, which is not great for my games draft. I mean, look, when I say unsighted, I think I saw it in the little reel, in the sizzle reel at the end. Yeah. But there was like twice as many things in the sizzle reel as we were shown. Yeah. Like we were shown long demos of Forza Horizon, which cool. That it was a new announcement, and it was hey, look at this new setting and all of this.
Australia gimmick.
I mean, I guess they're in the US, so for them it means something, and yeah. But that's the thing. It seems like they just spent a lot of time.
Their priorities weren't quite right.
Yeah, because in the past couple of years, when they're trying to recover from the old, we don't know what we're doing with this new console E3, which we saw when they were talking about, DRM and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. These last couple of years, they've done a lot of work to have really strong showings, and arguably at least on par with what Sony was putting up.
Yeah.
I don't think that this year they're even in the ballpark.
Yeah. They've
got good games, but this year will not be memorable.
Yeah, with our opinions on PlayStation still to be rendered, there's a big opening there for Sony to capitalise on it.
Yeah, look.
What was like I said, in my opinion, maybe a mediocre show.
I think we agreed after watching it, there was not a single new announcement.
No.
In the entire.
None.
I think.
We know there's
apart from leaks.
Forza and those, but they're all things that were kind of expected as well. There was nothing out of the box.
They were leaked within the week leading up, so there were no that. Yeah, I mean that's a shame, sure, but whether that's you can't keep your PR guys on a chain or not, there's
a lot of info being passed around these days, and it's pretty easy to happen. It's happened to almost every publisher that's got something on show.
For sure.
It's certainly not an exclusive Microsoft problem.
For sure. I just think that it was. They didn't give a lot of anything to their games that were really wowing people in games that have wowed people already, and that they're ready to see more of. Like, we're ready to see more of Recore. We're ready to see more of Sea of Thieves.
They just didn't really give us what we wanted.
Yeah, we just didn't get it. I mean, I super want to know what Crackdown's all about.
Super hyped for a bunch of these games. We just want to know
Cuphead.
More.
Where was my release date?
Maybe we'll get more at Gamescom. You can only assume.
Maybe, but
we'll wait and see.
Once you start hitting Gamescom, it's a little late in the year. You start to think, okay, if you're talking about it at Gamescom, it's either going to be a November release or it's not going to be this year.
Yeah, and that's a bit sad,
it's disappointing. They're going the way of Nintendo, which is that's not the way to go. That's for sure.
So with that. That's the end of Microsoft. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the...
Yes, that is the end of Microsoft. Ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the end of Microsoft.
No Xbox 2 at all. That's the end of our chat there about the Microsoft conference. Let us know in the comments what you thought.
If you disagree, we'd love to hear it.
Damo's not here to kind of mess things around here, so you can catch me at PaulJamesP2 on Twitter. Hit up the site at Player2AU on Twitter. Go to the website where we've got heaps of awesome written and video content about what's gone on E3 so far.
And the E3 Hub,
daily,
obviously.
Yeah, the E3 Hub. Tune in daily for this week, where you'll find by now you've already had an opportunity to see our opinions on Bethesda and EA, Microsoft today, and we've still got Ubisoft and Sony
to go. Yeah. And we might squeeze a little Zelda in there.
Yeah, well, yeah, depending on what.
I'm sure someone will squeeze
we can find a way to make that work somehow. We'll give that some thought and let you know. But otherwise, that's it. So again, let us know what you think in the comments. And until tomorrow with Ubisoft, we'll see you later.